Hello, everyone. Yes, welcome back to CUPPA CHAT. This is the series where we get to ask your questions to professionals around the country. And we have got a very special guest once again. He is no sort of hider or non-known around our town. He is, of course, one of the brilliant actors that was at the Castle Theatre a couple of years ago now in Aladdin. It is, of course, the one and only Ellis. Hello, Ellis.
Hello. Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, that is all right. Ellis, remind us who you were at the castle for anyone who's like, I know that guy. How do I know him?
Yes, you might not recognise me because I've got a bit of a beard going now, thanks to good old lockdown. I played Wishie Washie in Aladdin, so you will probably remember me running around and being very silly and making lots of jokes.
Yeah, and you were the sort of the comedy character, weren't you, in that show? You were the one getting all the audience shouting out and things like that we can't do anymore at the minute. So
I know.
but hopefully we'll get back to it soon. So Ellis, we've had lots and lots of people sending in you questions because I think they recognised you from the show, obviously. So we've got wonderful questions coming up for you in a little while. But before we ask any of those questions, the most important thing to ask you is, have you got a cuppa of something, and what have you got?
I've got a cup of tea. I've got a classic builder's tea, milk, no sugar. Thank you very much.
Any sugar?
No, sweet enough already.
Sweet enough already. That's it. You see, that's a good. I've gone for blackcurrant today.
Yeah, nice. Very refreshing.
Very refreshing. I've decided to put in like a tea mug, so it looks like I'm like grown up, you say, still. But yes. Great. So you got your tea. Before we do the questions, Ellis, every single guest that we've had on CUPPA CHAT, I have made an invention to make you feel nice and welcome and something that you'll be able to use in the professional world when we get back to it. And you are no different today. So I'm just going to get it on for you. And here is your, oh gosh, invention for today.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I know. Look at it. This is the high class. This is, Ellis, because you are obviously known around these parts as being wishy-washy and having all the audience shouting at you, that I thought that you might need a little bit of ear refreshment. So this is officially called the ear refresher. Okay. So how it works is you've got your hat on and you've got a cap on, so this would be perfect. You see. And then what you do, you can do it during the show or you can do it backstage, is very carefully, obviously. You put some wax in your ear and it will just like smooth and refresh and make it all nice. And then if the audience is being too loud, I've got some cotton wool that you can just stuff in your ears, really. I mean, is this going to change how you are going to change your life forever on stage?
Do you know what, Gary? I think you have changed my life forever from this moment on. That is an excellent idea. And it can get very loud on stage when you're doing panto. So a little bit of cotton bud, it can, never go amiss. I think that'll be very useful.
This is it. I mean, I'm probably in the same boat as you, that your ears do hurt sometimes when you've done your shows and things. So I tell you what, Ellis, I'll send this in the post to you and you can use it from now on when you're next back in panto on stage again. Is that a deal?
Deal.
Deal. I'm glad you didn't say no deal, because that had been a right end of episode show, wouldn't it? So, great. So, Ellis, we're going to have 15 minutes now to get as many questions as we can, which you guys have been sending at home for us. And as I say, we've had lots of wonderful questions come in. So let's start the clock. Right, Ellis. Most important thing first is probably this question, which is, what was your first ever show that you performed in? How did it all start?
The first ever show I performed in, I was 9 years old and I'd auditioned for my local amateur dramatic society. I'm from a place in Somerset called Frome. They had a lovely Amdram society there. And I was Oliver in Oliver. And it was very exciting. I didn't really know what I was doing. I kind of just turned up and I was doing the singing and the dancing. And I think because I looked like a little orphan boy, and I think I was quite sweet when I was 9. I must have looked quite adorable at the time. Obviously things have changed since then, but less adorable now. But that was my first show and I loved it.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. And did you have to sing that gorgeous song, the really high pitched one, Where is Love?
Where is Love? Yes, yeah. Very high then.
How was it? How was it playing the lead character in your first ever show? Was it quite a scary thing? Because a lot of our members who are watching sometimes do get chucked in at the deep end. How was it for you?
I think when you're a bit younger, I think it doesn't feel necessarily as daunting because you've not done it yet. So you can just sort of have fun, and there's nothing to worry about. And I kind of just kind of went with it. I wasn't asking too many questions or worrying too much about anything because I hadn't really done it before. So I just sort of went with the flow, as it were. And obviously, and everyone was so nice and kind and supportive. So it was a really enjoyable experience.
Yeah. And would you recommend then to do that? Would you recommend, if you're thinking about it, maybe people are watching now who have maybe never done shows before, would you say just jump into it and give it a go?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is just to jump in the deep end, with both feet and see how you get on. Because once you're in it and everyone's involved and everyone's got a part here and there, whether it's a really big part or a slightly smaller part, everyone's just as important as each other. So it's just a lot of fun, I think. So if you've never done it before, I would say the best way to do is just to get stuck in and see how you get on. I think you'd be surprised just how much fun you'd have.
Yeah. Very good advice. Very good advice. Another question which kind of leads on a little bit from this that we had in is, did you always want to become an actor? So we obviously know now you started at 9-year-old. Is that always what you wanted to do in life?
It was something that I found I happened to just enjoy very much growing up with the whole Amdram stuff, with your local societies or whatever it is, a bit like places like the Castle Theatre, you'd go along to your local place. And it just so happened that I loved it so much that when I got to an age when it came to sort of leaving school and potentially going to university, my sister turned to me and said, "Hey, have you thought about going to drama school?" And I thought, "Oh, I couldn't do that. Surely not. No, this is a thing I do for fun on the side, all that kind of thing." So again, a bit like what we were just talking about, of just sort of throwing yourself in at the deep end and sort of saying, "Hey, do you know what? Let's just go for it and see what happens." I had the exact same attitude with drama school, and I thought, "Do you know what? I'm going to audition and just see how I get on." And I think because I've obviously had a passion for it and I enjoy it, I think that sort of paid off, having that attitude of like, let's have some fun. And that's kind of how I became an actor. I think deep down I always wanted to be one, but it wasn't until I was a bit older I thought, you know what, I can really do this, and that's kind of how it happened.
Yeah, that's and a lot of people who have been speaking to you have been saying that you thought it was quite fun when you were a kid, and then actually you're like, I'm quite good at this. I could do this as a job. And there could be some of you out there that are doing the same thing now, that you might go, "Oh, I enjoy going to youth theatre. I enjoy doing Christmas shows at the castle or wherever you are." And you could do it. This could be your job if you put a lot of work into it. Ellis, one of the questions we had in as well, which sort of leads on from this, is what training did you have to do to become an actor? So you've decided you wanted to do it as a job. What do you have to do next? How much work do you really have to put in to get your dream job as such?
It is a lot of work. I won't, beat around the bush with that. It is, you have to really sort of get your head down and work hard, just like with any other, subject or kind of future job. If you really want to pursue it as a career, what I did was I did a lot of research when I was looking for drama schools, and I found lots online. And there are open days that you can go and look around and see. Well, obviously not right now during a pandemic, but in the future there will be open days where you can go and have a look around a potential drama school and get a feel for it. You can even buy tickets to see their shows, and if you really like them, you think, "Oh, I might want to go to this drama school." So you do a lot of research, and then you apply for their auditions, and then you go along to the said auditions, and you have to be sort of aware that it might take a few goes at it. And the most important thing is to not be disheartened by any sort of rejection, or if you don't quite get it the first time. A little bit like with your local amateur dramatics places and societies, if you go up for a lead role and you don't get it and it goes to somebody else, don't give up there. You just keep going and going and going, because you might get another part that you didn't think that you wanted, and that turns out to be much better or a lot more fun or whatever it is. And it's the same sort of thing with drama school. You audition, and then eventually, if you do get in somewhere, it's depending on where you go, roughly 3 years of very, very hard work, and then you start auditioning for real life shows like pantos at in at the Castle Theatre, and shows all over the country and all that sort of thing. So it's a long process, but it's a very rewarding one, and it really is worthwhile.
How is it? I mean, because I've gone for lots of things, obviously, and I try and tell this to our members and people who want to listen to me blabbing on as well, that you do get rejected a lot. That's just part of the business. How do you sort of prepare for that rejection? Because I mean, I always tell people that it just wasn't the right one for you, but there is something that's coming that is right for you. How do you look upon that, and maybe give young people advice for a career where you do get rejected a lot?
Yeah, it takes a little while to get used to it, because when you first, well, for me anyway, and for a lot of my peers, when we graduated from our drama school, I studied at Art Z in Chiswick. So if you've not heard of it, look it up. It's a very good college. When you first graduate, it can be quite difficult to take those no's, because it does happen. But the thing you have to kind of remember is that it's not personal. It's never personal. You know, they're not saying, oh no, we don't like you. They're saying, oh no, thank you. There are other people that just happen to fit the right sort of brief, as it were. You have to be the right height, you have to have the right look. You know, even if you're really good at maybe singing and acting the role, there might be some dance in it that isn't necessarily your strong point, or you know, any of those combinations of things. So the most important thing really is to sort of try and brush it off, because like you just said, if that particular thing wasn't right for you, there is something down the road that is right for you. Before I did panto, I did a long tour, UK tour of a show called Avenue Q, and up until I got that, I had loads of no's and rejections. You get through rounds for auditions, you get really, really close, and then you don't quite get it, and then you're like, oh no, but you just have to pick yourself up and then go again. And then, just like you said, something around the corner is waiting for you, and then you do get it.
Yeah, wonderful. Good advice. Thank you, Ellis. Let's change the subject completely now and have another question. In panto, does it get really annoying when everyone's shouting out all the time? Someone said.
I would love to say yes, but no, it doesn't. Because that's what panto is all about. Obviously, within reason, don't shout the whole time from start to finish. But I think it is quite clearly signposted from us actors on stage when we want you to sort of get involved and start shouting out and booing at the baddie and cheering the goodie. But when it is time to shout, go for it. Don't hold back. And that's what we love. Hearing the noise and the feedback from you guys out in the audience is what makes it really worthwhile, because we're like, wow, they're really enjoying it. Even if they're booing, they're really enjoying it, and it kind of it fires you up to keep going and push on and give even more from yourself as a performer.
Yeah, and I mean, and I was lucky enough to obviously work with you guys for the Christmas light switch on in the town when you performed, and then I went off and did panto myself. And I did the Castle 2 previous years, and I'm sure you'll agree, the audiences there are absolutely brilliant at shouting out and joining in. And me and Laura were lucky enough to see you guys in one of your final shows when I'd finished my run and you were going on a little bit longer, and the audience were loving shouting out. Does it feel, and I kind of know the answer to the question in that space, especially, but because it's such a big sort of iron building, and you've got that big fly tower above it, do you feel like you're sort of being slapped in the face ever by all the shouting and booing? And how did it feel at the Castle? That's what I'm trying to say. That's what everyone wants to know. How did it feel performing at the Castle?
it was great. It was like a wall of noise that sort of just hit you as you came out. And what was great, playing, being Wishy Washy and playing the comic role, is that I could really rile everybody up if when I come out and say hiya gang, and if people didn't shout hiya gang quite loud enough, I say it one more time, and then bang, I was hit with so much noise. But it was excellent. They really, really gave it some.
Is there some days though when you're performing, and we're all human, obviously. There is days where we have down days, or we're like, oh, for goodness sake, but you're like, please don't shout out too loud today. Has that ever happened? You're like, not too much, or when you're out there, is it just you want that all the time as the comic character?
It's funny because, like you said, we're all human. Everybody has up, good days, bad days, whatever. And if and it is a job at the end of the day, performing. So, and everyone in their day-to-day job has good days and bad days. And yeah, sometimes you might be thinking before the show, oh, I'm not sure if I'm feeling it today, or do I have the energy? Oh, I don't know. And then before you know it, once you get out on stage, that wall of sound we were just talking about, all the cheering, the boos and stuff, it kind of picks you up, and then you're like, you know what? I didn't think I wanted all that noise today, but actually, it turns out I do, and it's really, really great.
Yeah, wonderful. Another question about Aladdin before we change the subject completely. In Aladdin, someone said you are a very, very funny character. Are you really that funny in real life?
I love this question. Oh, well, I'd like to say yes. Obviously, you'd have to ask people that know me quite well, maybe my friends and family. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm the same kind of funny as Wishy Washy, because he's a bit silly, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wishy? But we do love him. So I'd like to say yes, I'm funny in real life, but a slightly more toned down, sensible funny, as opposed to shoving as many marshmallows in my mouth as I possibly can, kind of funny.
Yeah, and chucking toilet rolls in the audience and whatever else you were doing than that. Yeah. I think you're quite funny. I mean, we're having a good old laugh between us now. So I'd say to whoever asked that question, yes, he is quite funny in real life, but maybe differently. Let's change the subject completely now. We don't talk about this too much, but I think it's really important, and it was certainly important to me when I was growing up. Did you ever get bullied at school, someone said, for doing acting? And if so, how did you overcome it? It is quite hard. It doesn't happen, thank goodness, as much nowadays, but it might still happen somewhere.
Yeah, I think this is I really I think this is a really important question. I loved seeing it on the list of questions that you sent through to me, because sometimes that does happen, because especially at school, sometimes kids don't necessarily understand each other as well as us grown-ups do, and sometimes when you don't understand something, or you don't get something, it's very easy to have a negative reaction towards it, because it can be a bit confusing. So if if you're somebody who really loves acting or performing, or singing, dancing, whatever it might be, and there's people at school that don't really get it, they might make you feel a bit sort of bad about it, or they might put you down for it, and it's simply because they don't really understand what it is about that subject that you like so much. And my advice to people who, if it happens, let's hope it doesn't, but let's say it did, is to try not to think about it too much, because the worst thing that you could do is let any form of bullying stop you from doing what you love. And the amount of joy and sort of pleasure that you're going to get out of pursuing that thing that you enjoy, whether it's extracurricular outside of school, or whether it's drama class in school, or whatever it might be, is worth so much more than any silly words that you might receive from somebody who doesn't really understand it, And I would never say, never fight back, or bully back, because arguing and violence and stuff is never the answer. But if you ever have the opportunity to inform, said bully, a little bit about what you do, you know, take that opportunity, because the chances are, if they had a go at it, I bet they'd have a really good time as well. They're the ones missing out. So I would say, don't let it put you off, because, you know, I experienced it a bit when I was at school, and, you know, look at me now. You know, I'm very funny. But yeah, the point is, just don't let it ever put you off, because there are lots of people out there that also really enjoy what you do. And chances are, eventually, when you do leave school, you're going to meet a lot of people that are like-minded and enjoy the same things as you, and you won't need to worry about bullies anymore.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I was valid badly at school for doing acting as well. And as you said, look at us now. We're doing what we love to do, and we're entertaining people. And that's what you guys need to remember as well. It feels horrible at the time, but keep going, inform them, tell them what you do. Maybe they don't understand. And who knows? You know, you could be sitting here one day on CUPPA Chat. I'm sure you won't be, but we might not do any more after this. But there you go. Right, cheers. Let's change the subject completely. What is your dream role? Let's have that one. We had that sent in. What's your dream role?
This is a funny one. I've always wanted to be Doctor Who.
Ellis, you've hit the CUPPA Chat, like, look, look, I'm not even prepared for this. Look what's sitting at the side of me here. I've got Daleks all over this house. I tell you. Ellis, tell me why you want to be Doctor Who. I feel like we're going to have a moment here now.
I grew up with Doctor Who, with Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant's sort of reintroduction of Doctor Who back into, you know, mainstream after it had been away for years and years. And I loved it. I fell in love with it. I could not get enough with it. And then whenever there was a new Doctor that took over, I'd always think, oh, I'm not going to like this one as much as the one that's just left, because they were my favorite. You know, when Christopher Eccleston's Doctor left and David Tennant took over, I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to hate David Tennant. Loved him. I thought he was amazing. And the same thing happened with Matt Smith. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what? Because they all brought so much different elements to the character, that really famous, you know, character Doctor Who's one of the longest running sort of series of all time. And I loved what they did with it. And I realized when Matt Smith took over that there can be a really playful sort of young sort of feeling about Doctor Who. He can be a bit childlike and silly and a bit slapstick and this, that, and the other. And it was a whole new side to Doctor Who that I'd never seen before. And I think it was from that moment on where I thought, oh my gosh, what an amazing role that would be, you know, because you have science, you know, you've got science fiction, and you've got you know, real jeopardy, and you've got, you know, moments of real tragedy and, like, you know, pulling at the heartstrings, and then you've got really silliness and comedy and all sorts of things. So I just think what an amazing role that would be to play. You know, that's my opinion.
And you play a role that has been so famous over all the years.
Yes,
so Ellis, before we move on, I can't just finish the Doctor Who chat. So if anyone who's watching and knows me, you know how much of a big Doctor Who fan I am. So I can't just finish this bit now. Who's the favourite Doctor then? Is it Christopher Eccleston? And look, I've put in meltdown. The worst thing I can say to a Doctor Who fan is like, which one is your favourite?
Don't do this to me.
I'm doing it.
Do you know what? David Tennant.
Oh, very good. I approve a lot. I'm a classic. David Tennant's my new series favourite. John Pertwee is my all-time favourite from the classic episodes. Someone else's favourite is different, both of ours, is the lovely Laura, who's like just off camera, like listening like closely, completely, because her favourite's Matt Smith. Hi, Matt Smith. He said nice things. That's what made him want to be Doctor Who. Right, anyway, why am I giving you more airtime than normal? Ellis, I'm so sorry that this has happened, that she always comes in, wants to ask a question, normally gets a good answer from it, and makes... Oh, just get on with it. Look, he's here. Come on.
Okay. you talk about everyone's strengths and what you do good in theatre. What would be the one thing that you'd say you want to improve on?
Okay, that's a really good question. That's probably one of the best questions we've had, actually, much better than all of Gary's questions.
Oh,
I'm joking. God, that's a good one.
because actually, Ellis, let me just put into while you're thinking. Probably the reason why Laura said this is because everyone on CUPPA Chat has always said, and it's been really interesting, that when you become a professional, you don't stop learning. So is that the same with you? What did you continue to, or what do you enjoy continuing to learn?
Drama school kind of gives you the tools to sort of attempt to succeed in the industry, and most of the learning is on the job. It's all the do's and don'ts, the ins and outs of these very niche aspects of the industry. So I'd say, yeah, you don't stop learning, and you learn so much off others. You know, when you're at drama school, you're with the people that are very similar age to you, a bit like normal school. When you get out into the real world, you start having to work with people much older than you, much younger than you, from a variety of backgrounds. And that's when the real learning begins, because you get to work with people who've got, 20 or 30 years more experience than you, and you get to see what they do. And so I'd say, yeah, if there was anything that I could improve on, it would be, I hope this isn't a cop out too much, but I'd say everything. Because you can never stop learning in every aspect. So I know that's cheating my way out of it a little bit, but I would say that there's always an opportunity to learn in every area. So
yeah, well done, Laura. You put him on the spot, and we got a good answer. There we go. Right, good. Shut up. Right, so let's move on. Speaking of learning, though, I am a big believer, even if you play a role twice, you can still add something new. And someone's question was, have you ever had to play the same character twice? And if so, did you play the character the same or try something different? Is it what you were talking about just then, that you like to explore different things, even if it's the same?
Yes. Yeah, my first ever job at a drama school, I was lucky enough to do again a few months later. Well, about a year later, actually. Same director, same opposite actor to me, same musical director. So everything was the same, but there'd been about a year between doing that same job. And it's exactly that. You think you know something, or you think you understand it at a time. You come back with fresh eyes, having left it alone for ages. And suddenly you see things that you didn't see before. Even the director, our director had done that show numerous times, and he really liked our version that we'd done with him the first time. But the second time around, all three of us were in the room and looking at the script and thinking, oh gosh, we didn't see that last time. Let's try that this time. And then when you try new things, or never stop experimenting. That's another piece of advice I would say. Always ask questions, play around, because essentially that's what we're doing. It's just a big play, isn't it? We're using our imagination and we're just making things up. So yeah, that's what's great about doing the same character twice, is that you get to try new things and try it a different way. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, so what? Go back to something else.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, I think that's a really good point as well that you made on don't be scared of asking questions if you're in a show. I know directors can be scary sometimes. We've all worked with them, Ellis. I'm sure you're the same. But you're like, oh, don't know about this one. But they're not scary, really, are they? I think they'd rather you ask questions and get involved.
Oh, yeah.
Great. We've got time for just a couple more quick fire questions. So let's start off with this one. What was the best part when performing at Aladdin? I think you've got your fans back again, Ellis.
Best thing about performing at Aladdin was definitely firing water pistols at everybody, and then the screaming that ensued after we got to soak the audience with water, because that was great. That was really good fun. But there's so many really great parts from Panto. I couldn't really put it down to one moment. That's just a highlight.
Yeah. Do you do Panto every year, Ellis, as a complete side question?
Or
was that the first one that you'd done, or had you done previous?
That was my second
cool.
my second Panto. Yeah, and it was so much fun, because the first Panto I did, I was Prince Charming in Cinderella, Now, don't get me wrong, Cinderella is a great panto, Prince Charming is a lovely character, but I have to say, compared to Wishie Washie,
Yeah.
Wishie Washie is a lot more fun.
Yeah, I agree. I've said this when we spoke to your co-star Joe on Cuppa Chat. I said that I was a bit jealous because I never get to play the prince. I always get the comedy and the stupid sidekick or whatever, you know. And I was like, Joe, you got to be the prince and you got to be the hero. How is it? And he was like, oh, it's amazing. And then I was like, I want to be a prince. And now you've just spoken. Actually, I don't know if I want to be a prince anymore. I'm quite happy.
Princes are overrated. You want to have a laugh.
Yeah, fair enough. Here's another question. Have you ever forgotten your lines on stage? And if so, what do you do?
Yes, I have, as many of my fellow co-stars from Aladdin have. In something like in something like panto, you look at other actors and hope that someone might help you get out of the hole that you found yourself in, and they might chime in with your word if they're being very kind. If not, they might like to enjoy watching you flounder there while you're trying to remember.
I can't possibly, I'm laughing because previous year at the castle to Aladdin, I can't possibly comment, but if you came to see the show, you will know that there was one actor who never knew their lines, and we used to just stand there and smile because it is quite funny seeing people squirm sometimes.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that to you though, Ellis, did they? They didn't do that to you because you're so lovable.
No, I was very professional. I knew nearly most of all of my lines.
You know all your lines, perfect. And finally, because we've nearly run out of time, have you ever had to do any stage combat on stage? Can you tell us any secrets about that?
Yes, when I was in Titanic at drama school, I played Jim Farrell, and my co-star, who was my friend Gemma, who played Kate McGowan, she had to slap me around the face, and obviously it wasn't a real slap. So what she had to do was pretend that there's something on my shoulder. We just said, I don't know, like a parrot, something silly or colourful, or you use your imagination. Oh, there's something on your shoulder, and you go to swing it off. So you're not going near that person's cheek. You're just going, oh, I'm getting the parrot. And the person receiving the little swipe, they do what the stage combat instructor explained as the half Kleenex McCulkin. So Crawley McCulkin.
Mm-hmm.
From Home Alone, one half, and you're like, oh, like that. And the Kleenex element is you're slapping your hands together as if you're picking a tissue out of a Kleenex box like that. And as you do that, you do the half McCulkin and you go like that. So that person's swiping by your shoulder and you go, oh. And then from the outside, from an audience perspective, it looks very effective. And you think, oh my gosh, did they just get slapped? No, they didn't. It was very safe. Nobody got slapped, but it creates the illusion of getting slapped around the face.
Good. Don't go trying that on your brothers and sisters at home, you lot. I'm not having any responsibility. It's all on Ellis's shoulders if you go now and slap your brother and it all goes wrong. So, oh well, thank you all so much for sending in your questions. We had loads more come in. I'm sorry we didn't get to ask them all, but we've had a good lot of questions. Thank you, Ellis, for answering those. Just before you run away, though, we've got the most important part of Cuppa Chat, which is the game. At the end of each episode, we ask our special guest to name as many drinks as you possibly can within 30 seconds, and they can be any drinks at all. Now, Ellis, what we've found, and I learned a lot about Joe as well in this last 30 seconds, is that everyone tries to start off with being very like, oh, yes, this and that. And then we find out what you really drink. Let's just say that in the last 30 seconds.
I can imagine. I can imagine what Joe might
I know, I'm not saying a word. I'll tell you, you have to wait and watch it back. It's now online if you would want to watch it. So we've got lots of different people who have taken part. If you win, you could win 20,000 GLJ points.
Oh my goodness.
I love seeing everyone's reactions because they're like, what is that? What is that?
I didn't know the stakes were going to be this high.
This is it, Ellis. This is why we're playing. This is
every
serious.
Rides on this.
And currently in first place is our lovely Fee, who's our tour and panto actor with 27 points. she got in 30 seconds.
7 drinks in 30 seconds. She
Yeah,
managed to
and we've
name.
got
Oh my-
Victoria from the Mousetrap in London, who got 26 drinks in 30 seconds. And currently in 3rd place is George, who is our lovely teacher and creator, who got 25 drinks in
Wow.
30 seconds. Do you want to know how many Joe got?
I do want to know how many Joe got. That was going to be my next
So
question.
we've got like a mini Aladdin competition going on here as well.
Yeah.
Joe got 19.
Okay.
So you're gonna beat at least 19. It's
Oh,
Team
gosh, I've got
Wishie
to try.
Washie versus Team Aladdin. So we've got to find out which brother's the best. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 seconds on the clock. You can name as many different drinks as you can within that time. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Ribena, Vimto, Rubicon, orange juice, apple juice, cranberry juice, tea, coffee, lemonade, beer, wine, whiskey, gin, vodka, rum, Bacardi, amaretto. Oh, I can see the theme arriving now. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, schnapps.
Stop the clock! Oh my goodness! You saw the theme happening. You saw the theme. This happens every single episode.
I wanted to get out of it, but it was too late.
This happens every single time, and this is obviously being made for children, and everyone's being really well behaved until the last 30 seconds. It all goes out the window, and all the booze comes out. Ellis,
it was fun.
how do you think you did?
Okay, I think I did okay. I started to get distracted when all the alcohol beverages were coming into my mind, and I wanted to sway from that. So I think I must have got at least 15.
Oh, I think you did better than that.
Ooh.
Do you think you did better than Joe, though? This is the question.
Oh, I don't know. I really hope so. Oh, is it close? Is it like neck and neck?
It's very, very close. You actually, Ellis, got 20 out of the 30 seconds.
Yeah!
You are drawing with our lovely Amy, who's our children's entertainer, and our lovely Megan, who's our dancer that we've had on as well. So you know what? It doesn't matter. You're not in 1st place, but you beat Aladdin. So Team Wishie Washie.
As long as I beat Aladdin, that's the most important thing. Yeah, Team Wishie.
Oh, Ellis, thank you so much. It's been lovely having you here on the CUPPA Chat today. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me. I've had a lovely time.
Good. And thank you all at home for sending your questions in to Ellis. If you want to keep an eye on what he gets up to, we'll put all his social medias and things that you're allowed to see, obviously, in the links below, and you can keep an eye on what he get up to next, where he's going to be at Panto or what tour he's going to do. Keep an eye on him. He might even be Doctor Who one day, you never know. Thank you, Ellis. We'll see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.